Welcome back to Health Daily. I'm your host, Dr. J. Today, we will continue the conversation of how minimizing cheat meals can help you improve your health goals. But first, like we always do, let's talk about what's in the news. First up is Katie Piper. It looks like she spiked overnight or in the last 9 hours. And if you don't remember Katie Piper, let me share this tab instead. If you don't remember Katie Piper, about 16 years ago, so in 2008, she was attacked by her ex-boyfriend with acid on the one side of her face. And because of this, she went through hundreds of surgeries to get that side of the face and her eyesight corrected. But she's now just about to get a artificial eye. So from this, artificial eyes are still a new thing as far as the technology. Now, artificial eyes have been around for ages and centuries, but there's a few new artificial implants that you can use. The two main being, one is a molded, so one that's actually specific to that person, and then another one that basically covers the damaged eye. There's other subcategories of eyes, so whether it's a ball and socket or something that's doesn't move at all, but artificial eyes have come a long way. Let's go back to the trends here. Next is Michael Strahan. So he has been trending because his daughter, Isabel, and let me share this tab here. His daughter was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and that brain tumor being a medulloblastoma brain tumor. So what is exactly a medulloblastoma brain tumor? And I'll take you here to this John Hopkins webpage, where it says basically at the top, medulloblastoma is a malignant pediatric brain tumor that arises in the cerebellum, a part of the brain located at the base of the skull. So cerebellum is responsible for some of your coordination, among other things, but we'll keep it simple, that definition for this report, but you can dig into it more. I will drop the link below. Remember to like, subscribe, share this video with somebody that you think that you can use it or that would love it. I know I'm sharing it with my family and friends. Let's go to a government site that talks about medulloblastoma, and let's walk through this website a little bit. We'll go a little quicker here, but medulloblastoma, so now we know what it is. This is an MRI pictorial of the medulloblastoma. The important thing to look at this MRI, of course, you're not a radiologist. I'm not a radiologist, so I'm not training you. But what you're looking for is a change of appearance of this area compared to the area surrounding it. As you can see, this area, even though they have it highlighted or in basically the color change, you can see this area, the density looks a lot different than the area surrounding. And so from that, you can look through some of those pictures. But let's scroll down here. What causes medulloblastoma? And let me zoom in just a little bit on this particular screen here. Let's see. Let's do a zoom. Give me just a second here. Perfect. Okay, so it's a cancer. It's a genetic disease. So it's caused by basically a mutated gene. So genes may be mutated or changed in this type of cancer. And so they form the cerebellum, like what we talked about here. They form in the cerebellum, like what we talked about. And then also, let's scroll down a little bit. I'm going to zoom out just a tad bit. So who was diagnosed? I think this is interesting information here. Who's diagnosed with medulloblastoma? 70% of medulloblastoma cases occur in children and 30% occur in adults. So she's technically, I think, in that 30% category. Remember how old she is. I think she's 19. Yeah, so 19. I'm not sure exactly when it was diagnosed, but she may be considered in that 30%, which would be more rare than the children. But this is not necessarily a rare brain tumor of all the brain tumors. Medulloblastomas occur more often in males than in females, and they are common in non-Hispanic white and Hispanic people. An estimated 6,000 people are living with this tumor. So there's 6,000 people living with this tumor. And as you can see, the age groups are mainly between that 15 and 39 years from this blue chart. And if we go to the sex here, it looks like males dominate a little bit more than females as far as this particular tumor. And then this is the race and ethnicity. As you can see, non-Hispanic white patients have this more, or people have this more, and then Hispanic have the next large bubble here. And so, and then the 5-year survival rate is 80%, which is actually outstanding. So, so some of the things that people that diagnose in general can do, this is not specific medical advice, but if you're diagnosed with any type of life-changing event, the thing that a lot of times you want to think about is just resetting the stage, just reevaluating everything that you do in your life, whether you're talking about the food that you consume, the air that you breathe, maybe the part of the country that you live in, the air pollution quality, the water quality. I mean, you're teasing through every single fine thing of your life, when you get diagnosed with things like this. But like I said, this is not direct medical advice, just something in general to think about. So let's now talk about what we came to talk about is how minimizing cheat meals can help. So this is the second part. This is a two-parter of the first part. I'll drop the link below the first part. But like yesterday, we're going to continue the conversation of glycemic index. So glycemic index, I got a couple questions about this. People ask me, well, could you go over the glycemic index? What does it mean? What is the difference between index and load? So let's talk first about glycemic index and then glycemic load, and we'll talk about the difference, and I'll show you some examples. So glycemic index basically is a ranking system for foods containing carbohydrates based on how quickly they raise your blood level after consumptions. So these foods are ranked from 0 to 100. 100 you can think about as being like pure sugar, 0 being no sugar at all, right? Because carbohydrates, we're talking about, basically, to make it simple, carbohydrates turn into sugar. Other foods that you consume can turn into basically sugar spikes, but we're taking this as far as carbohydrates. With pure glucose being given the value of 100, like we said, and 0 being no glucose at all. So when I say sugar and glucose, we're using those interchangeably for this specific talk. So in general, a low glycemic index food, so something, foods that you want to eat or that you consider eating more frequently would be foods that have a glycemic index of 55 or lower. And then with foods that are 70 or higher, those are high glycemic index foods. Those are foods that you want to not necessarily avoid, but we're talking about cheat meals. You want those as part of your cheat meal. So those are less of the time of your complete week. So remember, we're thinking in a complete week, not day. Day is a little bit more difficult to think about. You can think about a day, but I would say if you think about over a course of 7 days, and we talked about 21 meals being kind of that potential 21 to 28 meals. If you take 5 of those meals out, those are your cheat meals. If you're cheating every day, you can use this formulation to improve your cheat ratio, I should say. Maybe I coined that term, your cheat meal ratio. So that's glycemic index. What is glycemic load? So this is the difference. Glycemic load is a measurement of both the glycemic index and the amount of carbs that are in the serving of food. So it goes even one step further. Glycemic index talks more about like just the carbohydrate load on your blood sugar. This one talks about the carbohydrate load on blood sugar and also the amount of carbs per serving in that food. So it provides a little bit more accurate depiction of food's real life impact on the blood sugar management. And so let's scroll down here. What's low glycemic index, medium glycemic index, and high glycemic index? Let's go to the high first, for this talk. Okay. And let me scroll in and make that a little bit larger. Scroll that. So the first one is a mixture of refined cereal or with sugar. So I have a lot of people that come to me every day and they talk about them eating sugar, and they like sugar and they like sugar cereals. And can they eat cereal for a meal? You can eat whatever you want to eat, but is this your cheat meal? If this is not your cheat meal, then you're kind of robbing yourself of a balanced meal with carbs, fats, proteins, less of a sugar spike. So, less fiber. Fiber can help the sugar spike. But let's take a look at this. So refined cereals. So we're talking about, I'm not going to name any names, but we're talking about, a lot of cereals. The glycemic index is 70. So we talked about 70 and higher foods being the ones that spike your sugar quicker. So cereals, unfortunately, are something that can spike your sugar quickly. And before we go too far, let's see if do you see a pattern here? Look at this pattern. These are all one shade of a color. This is kind of a shade of brown. It's kind of the shade of basically processed foods. So if you have more of these processed brown sided foods on your plate, you definitely want to mix those up and make your plate look more like a rainbow. Rice, basically air rice. So this is, I would consider these more like these rice cakes. 85, so even more than sugar, even more than cereal. So, the rice cakes don't seem like they have a lot of calories, and they don't, but the glycemic index and the glycemic load is high, right? So, and let's scroll down here a little bit. Arrowroot flour. A lot of people are using arrowroot flour as a substitute for flour, but see, the glycemic index is still higher. It doesn't mean that because you're using a different type of flour doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best for you everyday usage, for your everyday usage. You still may want to look at these sparingly. Bagel, a wheat bagel, 70. Let's scroll down. They have this baked potato at a 95. Now, this doesn't break out. I want to stop here for a potato because I do have some clients and people that talk to me a lot about doing the Whole30 diet. The Whole30 diet, one of the vegetables that you can eat on a daily basis is a potato. And so this doesn't talk about what type of potato. There's totally different types of potato. This may be your russet potato, one that has a little bit more starch that's a 95. Because if you take a sweet potato or maybe another dense potato that actually has fiber, likely not a 95, but we can scroll down this chart to find those foods. This is the whole point. I will drop the link below. This is something you can go to right now. They actually have an app. I don't get paid from this company. This is pure just something I found online that I think that can help you manage your sugar spikes in your cheat meals. But as you can see, look at this biscuit, beer. I'm a craft beer fan, so I can't have these every day and all the time. Look at this brown sugar, cooked carrot even spikes it a little bit more. So kind of think about this chocolate bar with sugar. This doesn't talk about dark chocolate. You want to tease through the details. So don't just look at chocolate bar, say, oh, all chocolate is bad. No, tease through the details. Cookies, what type of cookie? You want to look through the details. Corn syrup, corn flakes, crackers. So all of these, you can see this high glycemic load. Let's scroll back to the top here and go back to low glycemic index, and let's check those out really quick before we jump off of here. All right, so look at the fruits. I can't tell you how many times people come to me and tell me, my doctor told me that I can't eat fruit because my sugar's high. I'll say this, like I always say it over and over again. I'd love to talk to that doctor and let's have a discussion, because I haven't seen a person that has gotten diabetes from eating only fruit. I just haven't seen that person. Now, maybe they're there. Maybe I just don't know. That's why we're doing this. So we can have a community learning session. That's what this is a community learning session. So you present that person to me that has gotten diabetes because they ate too much fruit. And that's how they got it, not because they ate other stuff. So apricots, avocados, look at these levels, 10s, 5s, 40. We have cherry plum at 25. We have pineapple juice unsweetened at 50 because it has its own sweetener in it. It has its own sugar in it. Look at this orange, fresh fruit, 35. How many times did I have people come to me saying I can't eat oranges? They told me that I can't eat oranges. And, two questions. I say, who is they? That's the first question. The second question is, why do they tell you that? Did they show you any documentation about this? Peanut, 15, artichoke, 20, basil. Look at all these things that you can grow in your garden. I will be showing more gardening things in the spring. So if you're not a member, make sure you like and subscribe to this video. You save this content, you send it to somebody that that can use it. But on fit15.io, we'll drop the link below. Make sure you join the community, because we will be getting new advantages and new videos all the time, especially gardening. When the spring season comes over, we have the garden going right now because you have things that can grow in the winter, carrots, and there's potatoes that are kind of left over. I'm using those as like a fridge outside, grabbing those potatoes as we need them. Look at this banana, 48. Green banana, desert banana, 45, which are great. Plantains, platano, 45. That's my little Spanish for you. Lamb, 0. So these are some. They have some other non-carbs that are on this list, so you can see what it looks like. White corn, 55. Now let me stop here, and we'll stop in just a second. But white corn, 55. It didn't say white corn chips with salsa before you eat a full meal out. That's not what this is. It says white corn, sweet corn, frozen corn. So don't say Dr. J told you that you can eat chips and salsa before your meal. But that's it for today. Make sure that you like and subscribe to this video, share it with somebody that you know that can use this content. And thank you for joining me again on Health Daily. My name is Dr. J. Like we always say, I'll see you tomorrow.